G'day folks, Pete here. I'm here with Mia and Paul. We're just having a bit of a chat today around some of the things we've heard from our clients around the people side, and particularly some of the awareness or some of the concerns we've heard around people resigning, and more importantly, resigning of key people that potentially if they leave, the whole business is going to break. So Mia, what have you heard from talking to some of our clients?
Well, it's interesting, Pete, because there's two conversations happening. There's the real concern that customers are going to lose their staff. And you and I both know when we look at a list of key staff, we kind of sit there and go, yep, that's okay. That's actually not going to break the bank. And in fact, we're going to do ourselves a huge big favor by losing that staff member. But on the other side, we've got really great staff members who may just get caught up in the whole Great Resignation debate that is happening at the moment. And these are the key staff members that we've got to look at really engaging and keeping. And I think that's why we've got Paul Cripps from PK People Solutions on today, just to talk us through what the Great Resignation does mean and how do we hang on to those core group of people.
Thank you, Mia. Thank you, Pete. Thanks. Good to talk to you this afternoon on this topic. So, and you're absolutely. So this is, as Mia, as you quite rightly say, is something that came up last year. I first came across this around the middle of last year in terms of phenomenon at the time hitting the US and Europe, particularly the UK. And going back to, I'm first writing about this in a blog last October, which I've reviewed before I've spoken to you today. And at that particular time, there was talk that somewhere between 25 and 40% of people were potentially going to be looking to leave the workforce. And certainly some of the early indicators coming out for the end of last year didn't actually disprove those numbers. So I think it's a little bit different to the new year, new job. But one of the predictors was March could be the month where it hits Australia the hardest, and I think I then pieced that together in terms of, okay, so we've got a combination of people looking, combined also with the summer break, where people start to think about what comes next.
So when you talk about, I think you said 40% of people that are looking for something new and leaving the workforce, is that leaving the workforce completely, or is that looking for new opportunities?
And that's a good point, actually. And that was one of the early things that came out as well, is that there are people looking for new opportunities and some people that might be leaving the workforce. So people looking to leave corporate roles and potentially going into their own small business and start up their own business. So it could be a combination of the two, Mia.
And so if we did want to hang on to our people, what would that look like? Or what are some of the things that our clients could possibly consider?
Yeah, look, I tend to look at it in 3 steps, to be honest, and I think that I've tried to make it as simple as possible. I think some of the experiences, some of the clients I've worked with, other people I've spoken to, is I think the first thing you need to do, you need to actually identify who are the key people. Who are the people, if that person left tomorrow, who are the people that are going to damage your business the most? Because I've had a lot of people just, they don't even think about that exercise. They're just so stuck in the everyday. So I think step number 1 for me is actually identifying who those people are. If you don't mind, I'll go into a second step I find is to actually work out, okay, so once you've identified who the key people are that you don't want to lose, it's going through a process to understand, okay, so what would keep them? Personally, with my clients, I use a diagnostic tool to understand what's going to keep them, because I think it's important before businesses start to spend money on potentially the wrong solutions or the dreaded silver bullet solution, that they understand exactly what's like to keep them and actually go through a process to understand that. And I think the third step is then, yes, it's implementation, and sometimes in the implementation, it's thinking a little bit outside the box. Obviously, we've heard a lot the last 18 months, more and more businesses are looking at work from home, hybrid working. And it's about challenging some of those norms. So to break it down very simply, I consider those 3 steps.
And in your experience, are there certain steps that your customers don't do or could be doing a little bit better for them to kind of focus on?
I find a lot jump to conclusion mode straight away in terms of, okay, I've got this problem, so I just need to plug in a solution. So I certainly think that, with certain people I've spoken to about this, and even certain clients of mine, they've been so caught up by the fact that all we need to do something quick, they've straight away jumped to option 3. So they've actually not thought about who their top people are. They've not actually gone through a process to understand what would actually get them to stay, and they've actually put solutions in place, which of course maybe they do work. But it also is a good chance that if we look at other kind of scenarios, if we try and second guess an outcome for our business without going through a proper business planning process, the likelihood is we're not going to get the right result.
Yep.
Cripsy, that's absolutely fantastic information, and I think we definitely need to get you back in here, because your very first point that you mentioned is identifying those key personnel that you want to keep to minimize any damage to the business. And what we're finding is that business owners emotionally are attaching themselves to what they determine to be key personnel, who are actually effectively damaging their business anyway, and they're better off looking for somebody better. That's for another conversation. Pete, you and I both know that the world of people is just a never-ending cycle with our clients looking for good staff and managing good staff. That's the golden gem. That's what we have to look at doing. But right now, I think it's identifying the actual key staff that people have and maintaining and looking after those relationships. Yep,
agreed. Well, thank you very much, Paul, for your time today. And I'm sure we'll be talking more about that other bit around what to do with some of those bad people.
That's great. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Mia.
And Cripsy, we'll pop your details in on our website, as well as a link to your blog post if people want to go in and have a good look at that.
Thank you.
Well, Pete, until next time, looking forward to having this conversation and seeing what other curly questions our clients can throw at us in the next 7 days. And if history is anything to go by, I'm sure it's going to be a big one.